Why is it that the one who left you, shattered, the one who walked away without explanation, without closure, still watches your every move, but never texts you first? Why is she laughing in stories, posting like nothing happened, while you sit in silence, trying to piece together what broke? Here's the part no one tells you. She's waiting for you to chase, to fold, to prove she still holds the power. But the moment you don't, not halfway, not temporarily, but truly stop chasing, something begins to shift. The silence you used to dread becomes the very thing she can't escape. Every second you don't text becomes a question in her mind. Did he finally let go? Every message you don't send echoes louder than the ones you used to. She won't reach out, not yet, because pride won't let her, because she's scared you might not reply, because if she speaks first, she loses the illusion of control. But the man who's anchored in his emotions, the man who doesn't seek validation from the one who left, he doesn't beg, he doesn't chase, he simply disappears into purpose. And when she senses that your world didn't collapse without her, that's when it hits. The regret, the second guessing, the obsession, not because you tried to get her back, but because you stopped trying altogether. You became the mystery she never anticipated, a storm she thought would pass, but now realizes it changed the weather for good. This isn't about playing games. This is about reclaiming yourself. You don't need her to come back. You need you to come back. So, if you're still hoping she'll be the first to reach out, stop. She's not waiting for a message. She's waiting for proof. Proof that she no longer owns your attention. Proof that you've outgrown needing it. This video is your blueprint. We're about to break down how silence becomes your loudest message. Why no contact isn't manipulation, but a test of masculine self-mastery. And how heartbreak, when faced with Stoic discipline, becomes your ultimate transformation. If you're ready to stop being the man who waits and start becoming the man she'll never forget, like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and comment below. My silence speaks for me now. Let's begin. Number 1. She pulled away to watch you chase. She didn't pull away because she was confused. She didn't lose interest overnight. And no, she didn't vanish to figure herself out. Her distance wasn't emotional chaos. It was calculated, intentional. A quiet test wrapped in silence. She needed to know if she still had you. Not in words, but in action. So she stepped back, not to leave, but to watch. Would you chase? Would you reach? Would you panic and try harder? That's what most men do. The moment they sense her slipping away, they spiral. They send texts that go unanswered. They apologize for things they didn't even do. They offer more. Bech louder, love, harder, and all the while, she retreats even further. She speaks less, engage less, withdraws emotionally, because she already got what she came for. Your reaction, your need, your surrender. You showed her that she still had power, that you still needed her presence to feel stable, and that's all she wanted to confirm. Sometimes, a woman's silence isn't her exit. It's her mirror. She steps back to see what you'll reflect. If you react emotionally, plead for clarity, try to fix what hasn't even been broken, you hand her the control without even realizing it. But the Stoic man doesn't play that game. He sees the test for what it is. And he refuses to fail. He doesn't flinch. He doesn't chase. He doesn't send long paragraphs. She'll never respect. He holds his ground, centered, composed, present. He doesn't need her reaction to validate his worth. He lets her absence be her answer. And that changes everything, because suddenly, she's not sure anymore. She expected him to fold, to show up, to fall apart. But instead, he disappeared into stillness. No drama, no performance, just keyed detachment. And that silence, it speaks volumes. It whispers the one truth she didn't expect to hear. He might be gone. Now, the fear she was trying to provoke in him starts creeping into her. The tables turn, and he wins, not by manipulation, but by presence. You don't fake detachment, you live it. You stop reacting to her pullback, because her pullback no longer defines your peace. You become the man who doesn't chase, not because he's playing hard to get, but because he's not afraid to be alone. You become the storm she never saw coming. Number 2, attention is the drug. Attention isn't just about validation, it's a form of currency. And without even realizing it, she became addicted to yours. Every good morning text, every like, every thoughtful message you sent, each one gave her a hit of emotional dopamine. It made her feel seen, chosen, adored, not just cared for, worshipped. And just like any drug, the more she got it, the more she expected it. Your attention became her daily fix. But here's the catch. She didn't value the supply, because it never ran out. You were consistent, always available, always giving. At first, she enjoyed that, but over time, it became background noise, white noise, not because it lacked meaning, but because it was always there. She forgot the cost. She forgot what it meant to earn your presence. And that's why your silence hits harder than any message ever could, because when the attention stops, really stops, it creates a vacuum. And the human brain hates emptiness. She starts wondering, why hasn't he liked my post? Why hasn't he messaged me? Why is his name no longer in my notifications? That's not a coincidence. That's withdrawal. She was used to consuming you daily, effortlessly. But now the source is quiet. The flow is gone. And it's not punishment. It's balance. You're not ghosting her. You're reminding her that your energy is not free. That your presence is something to be earned, not expected on demand. And here's where the dynamic flips. The less you offer, the more value it holds. The more rare your attention becomes, the more desirable it feels. That's scarcity. And scarcity creates desire. Even if she once took you for granted, she now questions her choices. She replays your words. She studies the silence. Because she's no longer sure, she still has access to you. That uncertainty, it's magnetic. It pulls her in far deeper than constant attention ever did. Because now, for the first time, she has to earn it. And when you're no longer the supplier, but the prize, that's when she starts chasing. Number 3, the art of strategic absence. Here's the paradox. The more available you are, the more invisible you become. When you're always there, she stops noticing. When your words come too often, they lose weight. Consistency is powerful, but when it turns into predictability, it becomes noise. And when you're just noise, you fade into the background. You're no longer the story. You're just there. Until one day, you're not. That's where strategic absence steps in. This isn't about cutting her off in anger. It's about stepping back with intention, with control, not because you're emotional, but because your presence now has value. She thought she could pull away, and you'd still be waiting. She thought your loyalty was unconditional, that no matter how distant she became, you'd still be there. But now, she feels something unexpected, the silence. And it's louder than any words you ever said. Absence, when done right, is not passive. It's pressure. It creates contrast. She remembers how often you used to be there. The messages, the warmth, the presence. And now, nothing. That drop in presence, it shakes her. Not because she misses the attention, but because she starts to question herself. Did I misread him? Did I push him too far? Is he done with me? That doubt, that slow burn of uncertainty, is where your power lives. Because here's the truth. You don't need to argue for your worth. You don't need to beg to be seen. Your absence says everything. It says, you're not just another man waiting for her. You're a man who chooses where his energy goes. And if she pulled away, you don't fight that. You meet it, you mirror it, and then you double it. Most men fear silence. They're scared she'll move on. They're scared she'll forget. But the ones who master it understand this simple law. Absence doesn't make her forget. It makes her remember. Every quiet hour becomes a question. Every day, without a message, becomes a whisper in her mind. Why hasn't he reached out? Did he stop caring? Has someone else taken my place? You've already spoken enough. Now, let the silence speak. Number 4. Emotions are traps. Emotions are traps. Detach or be devoured. When you're bleeding emotionally, you can't think straight. That's why she pulled away, not by accident, but because she knew it would hurt you. She knew it would trigger your need for answers, for reassurance, for closure. But here's the real trap. The more reactive you become, the more control you hand over. The more you feel, the more she governs. She doesn't have to do anything. Your emotions do the damage for her. This is where most men fall. They can't sit in silence, so they reach out, not out of power, but out of panic. They text, they call, they chase comfort, but that urge to reconnect, it's not courage, it's fear, dressed as action. It's the mind scrambling to end pain, even at the cost of dignity. And every time you cave, you confirm her place above you. You send an unspoken message. You can disappear, and I'll still wait. The Stoic man plays a different game. He knows pain is real, but reaction is optional. He doesn't numb himself. He just doesn't serve his emotions. He lets them come, but doesn't let them lead. He watches them rise and watches them pass, like clouds, like waves. Because when emotion leads, logic dies. And when logic dies, so does your leverage, your value, your center. Detachment isn't coldness, it's clarity. It's standing inside the storm and refusing to be moved. That stillness, it's rare, it's magnetic, and it terrifies the person who thought you'd collapse. When you detach, you stop chasing her absence and start commanding your own presence. You stop needing closure from her and create it within yourself. That shift changes everything. You're no longer the man she left. You're the man she no longer understands. She doesn't see someone begging. She sees someone building, someone who no longer bleeds for her attention, someone who confuses her. And confusion, that's the seed of obsession. Number 5. Your pain is her mirror. Your pain doesn't just belong to you. It reflects back onto her. When you suffer after she walks away, it sends her a message, one that confirms her emotional power over you. It tells her she mattered, that your sense of peace depended on her presence. And for someone who left, that validation feels like a silent triumph. It tells her she was right to pull away, because if you're breaking without her, she still owns a part of you. She still controls the outcome of your emotional world. But the truth runs deeper. She didn't break you. She revealed what was already fragile. Her absence didn't create the wound. It exposed the one that was already there. And that's the part most men miss. They think reconnecting will stop the pain, that if she just texts, calls, or returns, the bleeding will end. But even if she did, that relief would be short-lived, because the pain isn't really about her. It's about what her exit activated inside you. Your attachment, your unmet needs, your fear of being left behind. These are the real injuries, and they existed long before she left. The Stoic man sees this clearly. He doesn't chase her to stop the pain. He confronts the pain to find the source, because healing doesn't come from her apology. It comes from reclaiming your inner balance. Pain is not punishment. It's information. It shows you where you lost your center, where you outsourced your peace to someone else. And once you realize that, the pain becomes useful. It becomes the mirror, not of what she did, but of what you must rebuild: your self-worth, your identity, your emotional independence. When you stop projecting pain onto her, you create distance, stillness, healing. And that shift doesn't go unnoticed. She may not see your suffering, but she feels the silence. She feels the gap where your validation used to live. And in that gap, she no longer sees a man who needs her. She sees a man who's learning to live without her. And that changes everything. Number 6. Women feel deeply, but respond to power. Women are emotional by nature. They feel more than they admit, more than they show. But don't confuse deep feeling with blind attachment. A woman won't return to what wounds her. She doesn't chase comfort in pain. She moves toward what commands presence, what holds gravity, stillness, strength. That force she's drawn to, it isn't love, it's power, your power. She already knows how you felt. You spelled it out in texts, in calls, in your silence breaking. You tried to fix things with emotion, but now she's not listening for more feeling. She's observing something else entirely: your resolve. She wants to see if you can stand on your own feet, hold the silence without crumbling, walk away without looking back. It's not your vulnerability that shakes her, it's your composure. And this is where most men get it wrong. They think pouring their hearts out will soften her. They confuse emotional openness with strength. But emotion without control doesn't attract, it overwhelms. It signals dependence, neediness, imbalance. She might sympathize, but sympathy is not desire. And without desire, there's no path back. But when you shift your focus from wanting her return to rebuilding your foundation, she begins to notice again, not the man she left, but the man you've become, a man who doesn't spiral, doesn't beg, doesn't perform for her validation, not cold, but centered, calm, unshaken. That presence, that grounded masculinity, is what disrupts her certainty, because now she's no longer seeing the man who needed her. She's facing the man who grew in her absence. And here's where the shift occurs. When you stop proving yourself to her, She starts questioning her place in your world. She wonders, does she still have access? Does she still hold space in your heart? Or has someone else, someone who aligns with the man you've become, replaced her? That quiet uncertainty cuts through her ego like a cold wind, because deep inside, she knows something she won't say aloud. A woman never truly forgets a man who became stronger without her. Number 7. Your silence forces her reflection. Silence isn't the absence of noise. It's the presence of pressure, and when you stop reaching out, stop reacting, stop explaining, you create space. And in that space, something powerful begins to happen. She hears the thoughts she's been running from. Doute, guilt, her second guesses. They all start to surface without your validation to drown them out. Why hasn't he messaged me? Did he really move on? Did I even matter? You see, when you were chasing, she didn't have to face those questions. Your attention acted like a shield. It allowed her to avoid accountability. As long as you were present, she could pretend she still had control. She didn't need to reflect. She didn't have to feel the full weight of walking away. But now, your silence is doing what your words never could. It's making her sit with herself, and in that quiet, she starts rewriting the story. At first, she told herself you'd break, that you were just pretending, that eventually your pride would crack under the silence. But as the days stretch on, and still nothing, the cracks appear in her own version of reality, not yours. That's when regret begins to creep in, not always loudly. Sometimes it arrives as restlessness, late-night memories, an ache she can't quite explain. And here's the twist. Now, she's no longer reacting to your presence. She's reacting to your absence. That unease, that disorientation, that's the exact storm you weathered when she walked away. Now, the roles have reversed. But here's the key. This kind of silence can't be faked. It only works when it's real. You can't just ignore her. You must be genuinely focused on yourself, your growth, your direction, your future, because silence without purpose is just emotional avoidance, but silence with growth, that's transformation, and transformation hits differently. It creates distance, not just physical or emotional, but energetic. And the longer she sits in that space, the more the question starts forming in her mind. Did I lose him? Or did he outgrow me? Number 8. You become the mystery. Predictability is the enemy of desire. When she could predict your every word, every move, when she knew how fast you'd reply, how you'd react, that familiarity turned into control. And once she had control, the curiosity died. This is what most men miss. Women aren't magnetized by what they fully understand. They're drawn to what confuses them, to what they can't easily define. Mystery isn't a tactic, it's power. And when you stopped explaining yourself, stopped posting, texting, reacting, you became unpredictable. The image she once had of you started to fall apart. You went from always available to completely silent, no messages, no comments, no presence. But that disappearance, it wasn't passive, it was powerful, and it rattled her more than any dramatic outburst ever could. Because now she doesn't know what you're thinking. If you're hurt or healed, if you're waiting or gone, if you miss her or have already forgotten her. That uncertainty, it creates pressure, And pressure ignites attraction, because the brain hates unanswered questions. And now, she's trying to solve the riddle. That is you. She starts watching your stories, hoping for a sign. But you're quiet. She checks your profile, but you're low-key. She looks for cracks, but all she sees is stillness, presence, distance, and suddenly, she's no longer in control. She's no longer the one with access. Now, she's locked out. Before, she had all of you. Now, she's outside the gate, wondering how to get back in. And that unknown, that mystery, it pulls her in deeper than any sweet words ever could. Because mystery signals strength. It signals value. It signals that your energy is no longer freely given. But here's the catch. Real mystery doesn't come from pretending. It comes from living. Living so fully, so intentionally, that your silence isn't a game. It's a reflection of your purpose. She doesn't feel you hiding. She feels you evolving. That's what stings. That's what flips the dynamic. You've become the man she thought she understood, but now can't read, can't predict, and can't forget. And when a woman can't forget, curiosity becomes craving, and craving always demands action. Number 9. The comeback isn't chased. It's chosen. A real comeback isn't something you wait for. It's not something you beg for. And it's definitely not something you chase. The comeback chooses the man who no longer needs it. That's the truth most men miss. They think silence is some kind of countdown, as if not texting her is a secret spell that'll eventually force her back. But no contact isn't passive. It's not about hiding. It's about healing. It's not about hoping she misses you. It's about becoming someone she never imagined losing in the first place. Let's be brutally honest. The man she left, he was predictable, emotionally exposed. He needed validation just to feel worthy. He reacted. He chased. He over-explained himself into weakness. But this man, the one silence carved, he's different. He's calm. He's focused. He's building, not begging. He doesn't chase closure because he's already found it in himself. And when she does return, and if you've done the work, she usually will, you won't greet her with desperation. It won't feel like a reunion. It'll feel like a reckoning. She won't meet the man she ghosted. She'll meet the man she never expected you could become. The man who no longer explains himself. The man who doesn't try to prove anything. The man who lets peace speak louder than pain. And you won't let her back in because she's sorry. You'll let her earn her way back, if she still can. Because now, you choose who gets access. You're no longer the man waiting to be chosen. You've become the man who chooses himself. And that, more than any silence or distance, is what shakes her core. The moment she realizes you're no longer hoping for her return, that's the moment she starts questioning everything. But here's the real twist. Even if she doesn't come back, you don't break. Because this was never about getting her back. This was about getting you back, your strength, your clarity, your unshakable identity. The comeback wasn't about her. It was about the rise of the man she never saw coming. Number 10. The Stoic Spirit. Letting go isn't weakness. It's power. It's the final, quiet move in a game. She didn't even know she was playing, because when you let her go, not just from your phone, but from your mind, your story, your identity, you do something no long message, no last conversation ever could. You give her the blessing of your absence. Most men get stuck here. They say they've moved on, but they're still checking their phone, still hoping, still secretly watching the door for her return. That's not stoicism. That's denial dressed up as strength. A true stoic doesn't just walk away. He let go completely. No anger, no bitterness, just silence, self-respect, and forward motion. Because here's the truth, if she's meant to return, she will. But she won't return to the man she left behind. She'll return to a man she doesn't recognize, one who no longer needs her validation to feel whole. And if she doesn't return, you still win. Because you didn't let heartbreak define you, you let it refine you. Letting go is the ultimate power move. It doesn't scream, it doesn't beg, it whispers, "I no longer need closure, I am the closure." That's when the shift happens. You're no longer reacting. You're not trying to prove anything. You're not playing games. You're building, evolving, becoming solid in your energy. You're not driven by what walked away. You're driven by what lies ahead. Purpose, peace, progress. And that energy, that centered, unshakable stillness, that's what shakes her. Because you didn't just walk away, you rose. This is how your story ends. Not with revenge, not with reunion, but with rebirth. You didn't win her back. You won yourself back. And in the end, that's the only victory that ever mattered. If she returns, let her meet the man she never thought you'd become. And if she doesn't, better, because by then, you'll be too grounded, too clear, too evolved to care. You didn't fold. You didn't chase. You didn't beg. You held the line. That's stoicism. That's strength. That's the true blessing, the gift of your silence, your distance, your evolution. And if this message spoke to something deep inside you, don't let it stay just a thought. Make it a movement. Drop a comment below. I don't chase, I evolve. Like the video. Subscribe to the Stoic Spirit. Share this with a brother who needs to hear it. We're not here to win her back. We're here to win ourselves back.